All right, I just wanted to give a quick recap of this weekend's event. It's been a busy weekend and a busy past couple weeks before that. But so yeah, I only got part of one run in at the Colorado Mile. Fortunately, just after the quarter mile mark, or just before the half mile mark, can't quite remember. Um, the As you saw in the videos, got a nice sparkler show. Actually, saw some sparks coming down through the hole in the for the shifter hole, so I knew the day of racing was done at that point. Um, I tried to. I didn't have a spare motor, but I had enough parts, or so I thought, to put together one. So you saw in the other videos, I had the motor from last year with the broken shaft, which I sheared the keyway at the same current level as Friday's run, 2,300 amps, just after the quarter mile mark. That was 114 in the quarter, with two battery packs, partially charged. This year with three battery packs, everything else the same. I was doing 116.7 in the quarter. But obviously the quarter mile wasn't what I was trying to do, so uh, the didn't make it to the goal of the doing the 1 mile that I had hoped for. But now I know. So did put the motor together, found, uh, learned a lot. Pressing the shaft out. Now I know I could do that, at least with some confidence. When I talked to about a year ago with George and Hunter Hamstra, it sounded like that the chances of that success, even in the factory, were pretty low. I can see why. Um, but also, I talked to him about the real failure you saw in the other videos is the counter bore makes this wicked stress concentration right there. Um, Hoping I could be able, it would be able to hold up the numbers that was acceptable, but right on the edge. But apparently, right on the edge is forming a crack right at the keyway. So, but options are they were just starting to production of the solid shafts that got rid of the counterbore. That would help out quite a bit. Also, now that I have a shaft to know how to take it out, considering just measuring this, it's not super complicated turning. So turn it down. Maybe you got a 300M, should be plenty strong. Can't be too much stronger than, or don't need to be any stronger than the weakest link, which would be the next shaft in the Transwarp 9, but that has a solid shaft already with no counterbore. So I really don't need to go any higher than the quote-unquote stress-proof steel that shaft is made with already. Probably would add some length onto the shaft. All I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it up in SolidWorks real quick, and I'll throw it up on GrabCAD in the next week or so. So if anyone else wants to make a shaft, I'll get some good dimensions off of this one, just in case people care. The Warp 9 motors and Warp 11 motors, all the solid models for those already. I put those on GrabCAD a few years ago. But also, I got a lot of questions, just kind of what the point of Sylent was, and not everyone knows the back history. Originally, this was being built, or I bought the truck to go out to the salt flats, and fortunately, Bonneville the past 2 years had been the salt had been unable to race. Talked with a few races this year, and somewhere at the mile, and said that the salt this year was pretty bumpy as well. But yeah, just after they had canceled Speed Week, I found out about Colorado Mile, which the first year was last year. So I signed up and threw this truck together in 7 weeks last year and went racing. Got one run up to 150 in the mile, and then the second run sheared the shaft here. So I'm gonna do is take this back apart that I spent all Saturday morning putting together. Get a new shaft made or bought that's stronger, and probably gonna start trying to do some quarter miles. Not what I built the truck for, but right now it's geared for high speed with the 51% overdrive and 308 gears. It's got plenty of legs and a lot more potential than what I have it geared for right now, especially in the quarter mile. Mark on Nedra had brought up the idea of the gear vendors. Actually, originally was going to use two gear vendors, just like John Metric has blazed the trail and shown how that works. Unfortunately, it's out of my price range. I ended up selling the gear vendor, so I'd have the cash to buy the used Shiva that I'm running in now. The MP 205 for a, I bought that for $250, and it's holding up really well under the torque. It's really not very stressful for this. Haven't obviously put many miles on it, but anyway, for the meantime, I'm going to throw a new shaft in here. I'm considering a divorced gear vendors. There's a guy out in California I talked to years ago. He makes one, but it's about $2,000. That would certainly give me better off on the launch. Although I do have a Ford 9-inch in here, so changing the ring and pinion. I also have a GM 8-bolt, and that would be marginal at these power levels, but it has 273s and limited slip and bolts right in the back of the S10, so I might go that route as well. So I got some options, but gonna try to get it back and running, get some more street miles on it, start getting some quarter mile times on it, just to work up more experience and plan for the next mile event, because that's the real goal for this, is not a quarter mile dragster, it's a top speed car. So really need the distance, especially for something as heavy as this, to really stretch its legs. But yeah, I also wanted to thank General Air. I got all my welding gas from them, and when I told them what I was doing, they said, "Oh, sure, we'll give you shielding gas the next day." And so I went down, and so they supplied all the shielding gas for that. And then also, big thanks to Gigavac, they provided the big discount on the contactors, so I could afford to put the reverse on to be class legal. And honestly, driving around having reverse makes life a lot less stressful. But and the contactors held up like a champ. They weren't even warm with the 2300 amps going through them. So I have no doubt that they'll handle up, because I'm actually not over stressing these contactors. They're actually sized within manufacturer's recommendations. I believe I can do 3000 amps for something like 60 seconds with this setup, which is amazingly high power density for those contactors. So, and I always been using their maintenance contactors. I'm really happy with them. So I want to give a big thanks out to them. And yeah, so gonna get a new shaft, get it back together, and get her back on the road. Thanks.